Volvos have always attracted a very specific type of driver, but the past 10 to 15 years or so has seen the introduction of new style, swankier interiors, more advanced safety tech and electrified powertrains. And the result is this, the V60 Recharge plug-in hybrid estate. An eye-catching but not overly stylised family car. And I love what Volvo's doing with its current look. I mean, it's somehow managed to come up with a design language that says, hey, look at me, without saying, hey, look at me. So, should you buy this Volvo? And should you buy this Volvo over something like a BMW or an Audi? Let's take a look, shall we? Now, jumping into the V60, the first few words that come to mind are clean, clean, clean. I mean, this interior doesn't have any clutter whatsoever. There's a few bits of stylized design thrown in, but you've just got this big vertical touchscreen, a few buttons down here, and apart from a tiny little bit of scratchy plastic down here and this slide cup holder thing, it's all really top quality. All the hot touch points, anywhere your hands are likely to fall, you know, quality is absolutely spot on. Really, really nice. Now, there are two trim grades available. There's Plus and Ultimate. We have the latter, which gives you pretty much everything you're ever going to need. And over the Plus model, it gets panoramic glass roof, an improved sound system, and the pilot assist system. Now, this infotainment system is okay overall, but it does away with the standard grid menu and instead gives you this sort of shelf-like layout. Now, it does take a bit of time to learn, and also the lack of buttons down here, although it adds to the overall clean design of the interior, I have found myself wanting for certain sort of heated seat buttons, climate control buttons. You know, it's a balance, I suppose. And I think the fact that Volvos in general are aimed at older drivers, should we say, it's quite a bold move to put so many functions, you know, dedicated to this touchscreen and not down here. Anyway, apart from having to sit on the drive a bit longer and get used to the buttons, the integration of this system, you know, it is really good. You've got all the functions you're going to want, maps, media, things like that, and it integrates very well with this instrument cluster behind the steering wheel. And I also like that you can operate the window lock and child lock features just by pressing one button here. There's no going round to the back door with a 20p piece to fiddle around with anything. Call me boring, but I think that's very practical as a parent. A few other things I like in here is the extensive reverse and camera features. You can pretty much decide where you want to look on the car, left, right, behind, up front, have an aerial view. It's absolutely fantastic. And you also get some of the comfiest seats I've ever sat in my entire life. These seats are amazing. Car or not, you know, I want to get one as an office chair, the ace. Now, a few notes on practicality. The door bins are quite clever because they've got a step design if you want to file some things away, although overall they're not that practical. And contrary to what this big hulking center console would have you believe, there's hardly any underarm storage. The glove box is good though. Look at that. Now, although these rear doors do open nice and wide, the V60 does sit very low, so loading kids into child seats can be a bit difficult. You're either going to hit your head or hurt your back, and you do almost have to fall into these seats, but allow me to show you. So when you're climbing in, yeah, you do sort of fall into them, but I tell you what, once you're back here, it is absolutely lovely. The seats actually sit slightly reclined, so you can gaze at the sunny sky, slide your feet under the seat in front. Yeah, plenty of headroom, plenty of legroom. It's lovely back here. You've even got two USB-C chargers, heated seat function, and a fold-down armrest, unperturbed from cup holders, although you do have some pop-out cup holders here. Yeah, very, very nice. However, although you and your passenger here will be very comfortable, whoever gets stiffed with sitting in this middle seat will not be, because you've got this whopping big saddle-like, right, I'm going to do it. I'm going to attempt to sit. You've got this big hump in the middle here, which whether you sit with your legs this way or this way, you know, you are going to be quite uncomfortable. I mean, the size of it. And Volvo have even put a skid plate here because they know that is going to get battered. Now, Volvos have long been luggage-swallowing TARDISes in the car market, and the V60, even though it's a plug-in hybrid, is no different. Now, with the seats in place, you get up to 529 litres of storage space, and when you fold those seats down, and they fold down nice and flat, you get around 1,400 litres, which is massive. You also have an extremely low load lip, so loading heavy objects in is very easy to do, and you even get a ski hatch there for loading your skis, or in the UK, anything from B&Q. Now, you don't get any underfloor storage, which is a bit of a bummer, but you know, batteries and all that, you know, there's no space for it. So you will have to have your charging cables hovering in this little bag, although it does come with a tether cable, so you know, they won't be sliding around. And speaking of luggage sliding around, Volvo does give you this bad boy. Look at that, a big barricade for your shopping, and you even get a little strap there and two little hooks here. Your shopping, the takeaway. Really, really handy. Now, one final note with this booth is this parcel shelf. Now, as you can see, it's kind of lifted up and mounted here, so it's out of our way. You can have it down here like this, covering your belongings, or you can totally fold it away like that, and that can be removed. One thing I will say is that if you do have it in that position, it does obscure your rear view a little bit. I mean, look at that. That's the only space you've got to look out of. So the compromise is probably, oh my God. The compromise is probably to just have it there. Now, people buy Volvos for safety, assurance, a general ease of driving, and that's exactly what you get with the V60. I mean, it's been a hell of a long time since I drove a car that's just this effortless to drive. It almost drives itself, quite literally. I mean, the amount of different driving assistance features on board, you know, it's crazy. And what I like about these assistance features is that they don't feel intrusive, unlike a lot of new cars nowadays, which, you know, is harder to achieve than you'd think. The majority of assistance features in some cars are just more of a nuisance than anything else. Now, although we're driving on country lanes now, the motorway is where the V60 really shines. I mean, I've done quite a few lengthy journeys now, and it's absolutely spot on. It's quiet, it's comfortable, it will genuinely put your passengers asleep. And you know, I know BMW and Audi are the go-to motorway mile muncher company cars, but I think if you go for one of them and then you drive the V60, you'd be a bit gutted of the decision that you made. Now, being a Volvo, you might assume the V60 to be lacking somewhat when it comes to performance, but it really isn't. I mean, like a lot of partially electrified vehicles, just put that down because I'm blind. Like a lot of partially electrified vehicles, it does have a slightly fast and furious side. I mean, 0 to 62 in around 5 seconds, thanks to its 350 horsepower T6 petrol. I mean, that's nuts. Just put your foot down now. This is a Volvo hybrid. I mean, that's insane. The performance on tap really is, you know, it's surprising, especially if you need to nip out at the lights or, you know, nip out at junctions and things like that. The 8-speed automatic gearbox can be lagging a little bit sometimes, but overall, you know, as a whole package, the powertrain's really good. You know, plenty of performance on tap, and the transition you get from petrol to electric mode, or vice versa, whenever you're using the hybrid system, you know, is really smooth. I mean, I just put my foot down there, you can even barely hear the petrol, which again, with partially electrified vehicles, is a big plus. Usually you get a big stonking roar and it sounds horrible. So it's fast when it needs to be, and even when it doesn't need to be. It's smooth, and it makes you feel great when driving it. But it's still not what I'd call fun. You know, it's not a BMW, as people say. But it's a Volvo, you know, it's not really supposed to be fun. Neither's aqua aerobics, bingo, or book clubs, or whatever it is Volvo drivers get up to. Is that offensive? Now, as is the case with a lot of plug-in hybrids, the V60 sits in a slight grey area in the market, which leads many to ask the question, who's it actually for? I mean, who's going to buy a plug-in hybrid? Well, on paper, the V60 claims an all-electric range of around 30 miles. We expect around 20 to 25-ish in real-world driving. And it takes about an hour and a half-ish to charge that battery from a 7 kilowatt home wallbox charger. And on average, we've been getting around 40 to 45 miles per gallon, regardless of what its 150 or whatever MPG figure it says on the spec sheet. So it's great on the motorway, although it's not as efficient as a diesel would probably be on the motorway. And it does offer all-electric driving, although it doesn't offer much of it. So it's probably for those who do a lot of motorway miles in the week and want to be nice and comfortable on the motorway, but then want to potter about town and see the grandkids on the weekend in all electric mode, basically. Also, company car drivers will be glad to know that this V60 plug-in carries a low BIK tax rate of just 8% for 2022 and 2023. If you're a devoted BMW or Audi fanboy, then the promise of a bit more comfort probably isn't going to sway you towards a Volvo V60, and that's fair enough, I suppose. But if you love sensible, love comfortable, and want an effective part electric vehicle, then yeah, the V60 is a great option. In fact, if you're after just something a bit different and want a solid all-round car, the V60 is a great option as well.